Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, U.S. Senator Jeff Flake talks about working with the incoming Trump administration. And we'll hear from state Democratic leaders on their priorities for the legislative session. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Senator Jeff Flake was a vocal critic of President-elect Donald Trump during the presidential campaign, but now Arizona's junior senator says he's ready to get to work with the new administration. We spoke with Senator Flake earlier today from Capitol Hill. Senator, thank you so much for joining us on Arizona Horizon.
Thanks for having me on.
What is the mood right now on Capitol Hill?
Well, there's a lot of excitement around here, obviously. Whenever there's inauguration coming up, people are excited at the possibilities. In particular for Republicans, having control of the House, the Senate, and the White House gives us opportunities that we haven't had in a long time.
Do you know what you have, though, in the president, in who will be in the White House?
Well, obviously this is a different kind of election, and we're not sure exactly how candidate Trump will govern. Having said that, a lot of the things that he's outlined are things that we've been pushing for a while. One, to get in and repeal and replace Obamacare. Two, do some major tax reform. And three, and this is big, regulatory reform that will benefit the economy. I think those are things that we can do early on.
Are you more encouraged now than you were during the campaign?
Well, I have been encouraged by the cabinet that he's put together. We had hearings yesterday for Secretary of State as well as Attorney General. The hearings for defense are going on today. So I have been encouraged by the caliber of people that he's bringing into the administration. That's good.
As far as the stories circulating regarding Russian interference in the elections, what are your thoughts there?
Well, this has been building for a while. Russia's been trying to meddle for years. Let's get real. But they've taken it to a new level, certainly by hacking individual accounts, basically stealing information, and then pushing it back into the country in ways that are aimed at affecting the election. So this is at a new level. It certainly deserves a response, and we'll be finding the most appropriate response in the coming weeks.
The reports that Russia has compromising information on the president-elect. Again, your thoughts?
Well, those are unverified reports, and I don't think that we ought to go too far discussing just unverified reports. This wasn't a product of our intelligence community. It was more opposition research, if you will. And so we'll simply have to wait.
Okay, so there is concern, but not as much concern perhaps as others?
Well, with regard to the last information, in terms of Russian hacking, that was our intelligence services, the consensus that they were taking these actions. With regard to the information that Russia has compromising the president, that's not a product of our intelligence agencies. It's simply a document that turned up that hasn't been verified in any way. So we'll have to wait and see.
As far as the president's connections to Russia in general, are you concerned?
Yeah, there's obviously a concern. Senator McCain has voiced concern about some of the statements that have been made with regard to Putin. I share Senator McCain's concerns there. But we had questioning for Rex Tillerson yesterday that reflected those concerns. And I'm confident that Rex Tillerson will serve the country well. But Congress will always be here to provide oversight. And that's something that is built into our system. So we'll be certainly watching to see what goes on there. But I don't think we ought to go in assuming that there's something untoward.
And indeed, the president-elect says, he just says, we just need to get over it regarding this Russian connection. You agree?
No, I don't. I think that that's something that deserves a response. We can't have a situation where Russia takes the next step and actually meddles in our election itself in terms of the mechanics of the election, the ballots. And so obviously it's something that we need to take seriously. It goes to the trust that people need to have in our electoral system. So it's nothing that we can dismiss. We've got to treat it seriously.
One more question here on the president-elect. He says his sons, his family, will be able to run the company as he is president. There will be a firewall, and he will not be involved in any of the activity of the business. A lot of folks have a problem with that. They see ethical concerns. What do you see?
I would hope that they will distance themselves, but to tell you the truth, I haven't reviewed those documents or the proposals. So that was all happening yesterday when we were a little busy. We didn't get off the floor last night or this morning until 2 a.m. So I haven't had time to see what was proposed in the press conference yesterday. But they've said that they will appropriately distance themselves. Congress will provide oversight there as well. We have committees that will look into that. And you know, the separation of powers has been something that this country, that's been our hallmark, and we'll certainly provide oversight there.
As far as, and you mentioned this earlier, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, how will the Republicans deal? Will this be a repeal and replace? Will this be a repeal and delay? How's it going to work?
Well, it's repeal and replace. Having said that, you have contracts that go for the next year and perhaps the year after. The insurance companies will be bidding soon on 2018. So it took a couple of years to implement, and it will take a couple of years to transition. So we're busy trying to find out the best way to do that. We understand, first, Arizona is hit hard by premium increases as much as 116%. In all 15 of Arizona's counties, the average family of 4 is spending more on health care premiums monthly than they spend on their mortgage if you have Obamacare and if you don't take the subsidies into account. That says nothing about what is paid when you get to utilize that care, when you get to the hospital, in terms of co-pays and deductibles. So it is not affordable. It needs to change. But we understand as well, a lot of Arizonans are now relying on it, and so we can't pull the rug out from under anybody now.
President-elect says he wants to see it repealed and replaced, but simultaneously. Do you agree?
Well, you bet. That's the goal, to do it as quickly as possible. Given the way our process works and what you can do in reconciliation, what you can't do, it may make it difficult to do it simultaneously. But the goal is to do it as quickly as we can.
Democrats say instead of repealing and replacing, how about making what exists work? Everyone get together, make it work. Valid?
Well, the problem is that the whole structure just doesn't work very well. We've had it in place for a couple of years and premiums continue to go up. So I don't think building on this structure is the right way to go. I hope that we can do things on a bipartisan basis. After we get through reconciliation, you know, it takes 60 votes in the Senate to do just about anything. And so I hope that we can get partners on the Democratic side. Some are stepping forward already, saying that they want to work with us to actually fix the parts that need to be fixed, to repeal the parts that need to be repealed. And so that's what we're going to be working on in the next couple of weeks.
Last question. President-elect Trump talked about draining the swamp. You have talked about draining the swamp as far as spending is concerned. Are those twains meeting?
Yes, I certainly hope so. I hope that the agencies will, let's talk about progress that has been made. On the discretionary side, you know, we got rid of earmarking a couple of years ago. There have been efforts by some of my colleagues to bring that practice back. Just this week, I was able to successfully extend the moratorium with an amendment I brought to the Senate conference. So if you look at discretionary spending, that's been held in check for the last couple of years pretty well. It's on the mandatory side that we're really still running huge deficits and contributing to a massive debt that will hit $20 trillion by the end of the month. that's a problem. And you know, having unitary government is good for a lot of things, to have Republicans in place in the House, the Senate, and the White House. But one casualty, I fear, is a big long-term deal on our budget that will you know, put a fix to our entitlement programs and extend them, and to make sure that they'll be there for future generations. That is easier to do when you have divided government. So I'm very concerned about where we're going there.
Interesting. Senator, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Last night, we heard Republican leaders at the state legislature discuss their priorities for the current legislative session. Tonight, we hear what Democrats would like to see accomplished at the Capitol this year. Joining us now, Senate Minority Leader Katie Hobbs and House Minority Leader Rebecca Rios. Good to see you both here. Thank you so much for joining us. Senator, legislative priorities, what are you looking at here?
Well, you know, the governor actually hit on a lot of the things in his State of the State. But things that we've been talking about for years: restoring education funding, recruiting, retaining teachers, you know, putting some funding back into the safety net. So we'll see how those priorities play out in the budget tomorrow.
Encouraging, I would imagine, when you heard these things, no?
Yeah, definitely encouraging. But what we're asking, and I think along with everybody else, is how are we going to pay for it? And we know that the governor's not going to, you know, raise revenue. So unless he's planning to make some drastic cuts in other areas, then really there's either gimmicks or what he's proposing is going to be not really meaningful in terms of teacher raises or other things. So.
Indeed, signing bonuses for low-income school teachers, funding bonuses for high-performing low-income schools, state assistance for all-day kindergarten, dollars for school construction, for capital. Where's it coming from?
That was an incredible list. I was very impressed. I think we're all very cautiously optimistic because at the end of the day, the devil's in the details. And the fact is, Republicans have been telling us they only have $24 million to expend, and that much of that is going to go to Prop 206. As Democrats, we're very anxious to see what he proposes tomorrow, because at the end of the day, if he's only offering seed money, and it is not going to equitably and fully fund programs across the state for all of our public school students, then it's truly meaningless. It needs to be equitable, it needs to be fair.
And indeed, tomorrow the governor will release the executive budget, and we'll find out exactly how some of these ideas will be paid for, or if some of these ideas are basically left to you to figure out a way to pay for them there at the Capitol, as far as the legislature is concerned. Is there a way? Have you got some ideas?
Sure. I mean, the Democrats have proposed, again, over the last several years, things like capping the student tuition organization tax credits. The corporate side, right now, they're growing at 20% a year, so it's around $60 million right now. So that's capping that is one way to generate some revenue. And then looking at the special interest tax loopholes that currently exist, doing a review of those to see if they're still needed or if they're really providing taxpayers the return on their investment. So those are some ideas that we have.
Those are ideas, but swinging back that direction does not sound all that viable at the legislature with a Republican majority. Am I wrong?
You're right, but I think there is something that we can do and not wait. And Prop 301 is due to expire in 2021. when that happens, we're going to realize a tremendous financial cliff. I don't think that it benefits anybody to put that off into the future. I think that's something that we can push the governor for a special election to renew Prop 301 and then also increase that amount from the 0.6 of a cent to a full cent. That would, in effect, bring in another $430 million annually for our schools. I think that's something we can do today.
You think so? I mean, do you think that's the time is right to expand, or should we just be, or you just be satisfied with 301 being continued?
I think the time is right, and I think Arizonans have said time and again that they support the renewal and increase. I think around 75% of Arizonans have said that. So I think it. And Prop 301 aside, they've also said they're willing to pay more to fund education adequately. I
know that some of the other ideas regarding finding money for some of these ideas, any corporate tax credits, are requiring verification on return of investment for some of these. Talk to us about that. Explain what that's all about.
You've had a Republican-controlled legislature for decades that has given away the bank in terms of giving away special interest tax cuts, and yet there is no mechanism that they're following so that we can actually review each and every tax credit and determine, are we getting a return on our investment as a state? Is it performing and saving the state money as it was intended to? The fact of the matter is we have a $9.6 billion budget. All of these tax cuts were given with the promise that it was going to stimulate the economy, we were going to have more revenue. If you look, $9.6 billion is the same amount we had in our budget nearly 10 years ago. So we're not realizing all of this increased revenue, and yet we're not holding anybody accountable. There's no transparency, and there's no review. And that's something, as Democrats, we've said, no, it's time to rein in those that are not providing a benefit.
Also a sunset review process for all tax cuts as well?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that goes back to that accountability piece that Representative Rios just talked about, making sure that taxpayers are getting the best return on their investment. It's super easy to pass a tax cut, and once that happens, there's no way to get that money back. Not in the current political landscape, you know that as well as we do. So a review is a good common sense mechanism in there.
The verification, the sunset review, these sorts of things, would that constitute a tax increase if it cuts a tax cut? You know what I mean? Would it mean a supermajority? I mean, what are we talking?
That might be a question for the courts.
Okay, but you see the problem there?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, are we a little concerned with that?
Well, that's the argument that Republicans are going to use, right? Anytime you try and rein in what they've already given away, they clamor, oh no, that's a tax increase. But at some point, we need to be accountable to the taxpayers and not special interest groups. If you recall, the governor in his State of the State said he was going to give tax cuts every year that he's governor. If you look at what was passed last year in terms of tax cuts, one of them was a tax exemption for crop dusters. Now, I don't know how many average Arizona families are going to be able to take advantage of that. And so again, we're talking about tax cuts that benefit very few, but take away from the ability for us to provide the basic necessities of public education.
And yet, in political speak, some would say, be happy it's only that as opposed to another massive corporate tax cut.
Well, in Arizona, we rank within the top 20 states in terms of corporate tax rates. We have reduced our tax rate. It's now below 5%. So for Democrats, we're saying, okay, enough, draw the line, that rate is low enough. And yet you have businesses that aren't coming to Arizona because they're saying we need a good education system in order to supply the workforce that's needed for our business. So you have to invest in education. I think if you want to bring in businesses, the corporate tax rate is low enough.
The TANF, the food stamps, the cash assistance program, the governor says, let's go ahead and expand another 12 months. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, it was very surprising. Again, in the line of pleasantly surprised, and let's see how it's going to be paid for. It's something that we called for when last year, because it was cut 2 years ago. And it's a very small investment to help families on the path towards self-sufficiency. I think we have proposed a clean restoration. So my concern is what kind of strings is the governor's bill going to have in order to sway more Republicans on board.
When the budget does come out tomorrow, we'll find out exactly how far some of these ideas go. What are you expecting to see?
I'm hoping to see a funding source for all 18 steps that he's provided. I hope it's not a situation where he's throwing nickels at the problem and saying, well, you know, this is something we're going to address over the next 5 or 6 years. The crisis exists today, and so if he's serious about it, tomorrow he's going to tell us how do we invest those dollars today to address those issues.
The governor also mentioned success in terms of getting more jobs here since he's been in office, companies moving here, these sorts of things. He says, you can point at it. Arizona's on the rebound. We are getting more jobs. We are getting more corporations and companies moving here. Is he wrong?
I don't think he's necessarily wrong, but again, of those businesses that they had polled, I think the Republic had polled, many of those are choosing not to relocate here, and the number one issue goes back to our education system. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot with regard to attracting new businesses as long as we continue to cut public education, both at the K-12 level and now at the university level.
What about the child welfare system? What do you want to see happen there? What has happened up to now that you would like to see continued?
Sure. I think our biggest concern in that regard is just transparency and the agency's accountability to lawmakers and to the public in general. We've seen 2 different audits where they've made recommendations for efficiencies in the agency, and the agency's refusing to implement those recommendations. These are things that would, for example, speed up the process for permanency for kids. And that's really important for stability in those kids' lives, which, you know, we're talking about kids' lives when we talk about the agency. So we would like to see those recommendations be implemented, and just more accountability on the part of the agency to us as lawmakers.
And that's, I would imagine you would agree with that.
Well, yeah, and I was a little disappointed that there wasn't a lot of substance in his State of the State with regard to DCS. Mm-hmm. What he basically is proposing is to take TANF back to 24 months, and that's similar to what he did at JTED. They cut the funding,
right,
and then they come back and say, "Oh, we're the savior. We're gonna do it now." So that's akin to starting the house on fire and showing up with a fire hose. It doesn't work that way. He's doing that not only with TANF but also kinship care. It used to be called kinship care. Again, it's a small monthly amount so that families that are willing to take care of those children in CPS care can have a little bit of money to provide the basics.
Was the governor's speech, though, obviously we'll find out the details tomorrow with the budget, but was an entree, a way to get the discussion started, a way to get negotiations going, or is that how things don't necessarily work down there at the Capitol?
It will be interesting to see. I think there are many people that are hoping that this just wasn't a way for him to ingratiate himself as the education governor because he's going to run free election, mm-hmm. but then not do anything of substance. Mm-hmm. The other issue I think is very telling is I think it caught a lot of my Republican colleagues by surprise. And so I think that there is an opportunity, if he's serious, to really work with Democrats to pass a lot of these issues that Democrats have been hollering about and promoting and championing for years.
Democrats have been championing some of these ideas. Mm-hmm. It may wind up that some of these ideas are pushed by and sponsored by Republican lawmakers. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't care who gets credit for it. I think I mentioned this concern earlier. If the bills are crafted in a manner that doesn't have our input and there's strings attached that we can't support, for example, on TANF, some restrictions that that we're not comfortable with, then that's going to be a problem.
Okay, so and in general, as far as power that Democrats have at the legislature, for the past few sessions now, it hadn't been much. Do you see that changing, and if so, why?
Sure. I mean, we picked up a seat in both the House and Senate, and a lot of what we're able to really use our numbers to do is stop legislation that's bad. So, things like guns in public buildings that nobody really is calling for except for some extreme Republicans. So things like that. There's plenty of common sense Republicans that are willing to vote with us on that, that to stop, legislation that would harm Arizona.
Are there enough Republican lawmakers likely to side with Democrats on many, if any, issues?
I can't imagine any level-headed Republican not wanting to work in a coalition to fund public education. Arizonans are very unhappy about this. That is the number one priority for most Arizonans. So I think that there is an opportunity. I think Democrats hold a lot of power with regard to that, similar to what we had last session when it was us and a handful of Republicans that passed the kids' care.
Right. So, but those are there, and major issues, whether it's a sales tax and these sorts of things in years past, Medicaid expansion, these sorts of issues where there was a coalition. But in general, day-to-day activity, does it still feel like, because we have you guys on all the time and you say you're being ignored. Are you still being ignored?
You know, at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. And until we're in the majority, they're going to continue to dictate the agenda. They're going to continue to pass their bills. There will be very few Democrat bills that get through the process. But we've talked with our freshmen about work with your Republican colleagues across the aisle. It doesn't matter who gets the credit. It's about getting the work done.
Is that the same thing you're hearing advising over there in the Senate?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the power can be there. You're hoping it will be there.
Yes.
All right. It's good to have you both here. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. We appreciate it. Friday on Arizona Horizon, it is the Journalists Roundtable. We'll discuss the governor's State of the State address, and we will take a look at how the governor's ideas match up with the budget he's expected to deliver. That's tomorrow on the Journalists Roundtable. Reminder, if you'd like to watch tonight's program again, see any previous edition of Arizona Horizon, maybe look to see what we have planned for future programming, check us out, azpbs.org/horizon. That's azpbs.org/horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.